Hey guys, how's it going out there? Hope you guys are doing well today. So, today I'm going to be talking about Pokemon. More specifically, the Pokemon movies. I'm not talking about the animated, straight to DVD, straight to streaming movies. I'm talking about the live action movies because Nintendo, they've been on kind of a pretty much like a roll lately with Mario and Sonic. Sonic, we're going to be on our fourth Sonic movie that's going to come out in a few years, and we're going to be on our second Mario movie. And Detective Pikachu, which is the first and only live action Pokemon movie that's come out, came out before. It came out years before Mario and Sonic. The Pokemon movie came out in 2019, and I can't remember when Sonic the first one came out, but it was after the Detective Pikachu. But it's weird because it seems like Detective Pikachu, for whatever reason, it has just kind of not really had that same type of interest from the company, from Nintendo, and I don't know who actually, as far as like the film rights, I don't know what company like actually owns. I think it's Warner Brothers. Yeah, I think Warner Brothers actually like releases like the Nintendo movies like Sonic and them. I think it's Warner Brothers, but nonetheless, like it seems like between like the audience, like the fans, and like the studios, there's just been like no interest in making another Pokemon movie, which is kind of fucking crazy because you would think with especially how popular and how successful the Sonic movies have been and how the Mario movies have been successful. I think the Mario movie is like in the top highest grossing. I don't know if it's the most highest grossing films of all time, but it's in the highest grossing films of a certain category, and I can't remember which one it is. And now they're making a Zelda movie, which is going to come out in a few years. So Nintendo, they're definitely on a trend of adapting, their their game IPs into movies. And you would think with Pokemon being one of the most massive IPs out there, one of the most profitable IPs in history, that they would be one to churn out like a lot of these movies, and they really haven't. Like, I mean, even the news on another movie has been kind of scarce. Like, I think I think the most recent that I've seen is like they were talking about like back in 2023 that they were gonna make a sequel, but it's been damn near 2 years since then, and there's been nothing. And even now, like I checked recently, and there's still like next to nothing. There's no cast, there's no director, there's like no concrete news about an actual Pokemon movie being made. Like it's just like it's confirmed, and that's it. Like we don't know anything else. Like they're just pretty much like confirmed that it's gonna happen. As far as when, as far as who's gonna be in it, have no idea. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy because on top of Pokemon being like one of the biggest franchises, not only that Nintendo owns, but just in general. I mean, it's one of the most profitable IPs ever to be created. The fact that they have just not really been that invested in making Pokemon movies. On the one hand, I kind of get it because Pokemon, it kind of is in this weird territory that like a lot of other IPs and a lot of other adapted series are not in, because Pokemon as a franchise makes an ungodly amount of money from like, the games, from the shows, from toys, from online. So like it's an endless moneymaker constantly. It's been making money since, it came out back in the 90s. So on the one hand, I kind of get it because they make more money than they probably could make from the movies, just with just how the franchise runs as it is. So like they make enough money. So it's not like they're in a rush to just capitalize on Pokemon, because Pokemon, it always makes money and makes a ton of money already. So it's not like they have to like really sell it. It just makes enough money to, do good on its own. So on the one hand, I can kind of see why they're not like really that like gung ho about like trying to make like sequel after sequel, because I mean, even if like the next Pokemon movie grosses $1 billion, it still probably would be not that different from however much money. I don't know how much Pokemon makes now, but it makes a lot of money, and it makes a lot of money on a daily basis, just from all of the just all the stuff that Pokemon has now. So I mean, even if it like had like a blockbuster, record breaking, sequel, it probably would just be kind of an okay success for the Pokemon franchise just because of how massive it is. But on the other hand, like I feel like because it is one of the biggest IPs in history and it is one of the biggest money making IPs currently, that they should capitalize on it. Because I will say, I've been a lifelong Pokemon fan forever, and I love not so much the new games, but the old games. And I feel like, yeah, I'm not that they should adapt anything specifically for a Pokemon movie. I don't think Pokemon as a franchise, I don't think it really lends itself as far as taking source material, because I don't think, and I would hope that they would never try to adapt the anime with, Ash and Brock and Misty, and like try to adapt from the beginning of the anime till now. I just don't think that the Pokemon franchise really is a very adapt friendly type of IP where you can just like look at the core source material and just like adapt that to the screen. I don't think it would work for it. But what I do think would work is I think they could take concepts and inspirations from the game specifically. Now, I have been almost pretty much at this point a lifelong fan of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. If you are a Pokemon fan and you've never played the Mystery Dungeon games, I strongly recommend you play them. Specifically, Fire Red, which might be kind of impossible. It is actually impossible unless you have an emulator because it came out in the Game Boy Advance, so that's pretty much impossible unless you emulate it. And Nintendo is on a war path against emulation, so you might not be able to play that game. And the other Mystery Dungeon game is Explorers of Sky, which is, I think, the second best Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. And I think it's really, comparing all the games I've played, granted, I haven't played the most recent, the last, several years of Pokemon games, but for me personally, it ranks up there as like one of the best just Pokemon games of all time, not just like Mystery Dungeon. And I think like taking inspiration from the Mystery Dungeon games would be the right path to go. Because I like the first movie, but to be honest, I don't really see the viability of where the franchise would have been going, where it was like ended at the first one, with Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu, Justin Smith as the main character. I honestly just don't think that there was much mileage in that. Like I think having Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu, that was a cool like thing for one movie, but I don't think as far as like a full on, franchise, like cinematic franchise, I don't think that would really work. I think also just because, I don't know, I think it's just probably just more of a me thing, but I've just kind of gotten tired of Ryan Reynolds doing his same fucking Deadpool shtick that he's been doing for the last however many years. And he kind of was doing that in Detective Pikachu, but ever since, the Deadpool franchise took off and became a massive blockbuster, franchise, he's really just made that his generic persona for everything. Like that's his blank slate acting character for everything. Is he's somehow like a Deadpool variant no matter what he's doing. Like even in fucking interviews, he comes off like he's playing Deadpool still. And so I don't think that would have worked going forward. And Justin Smith, I mean, nothing against him. I mean, he seems like a decent, actor. I've seen him in a few things, but he has the fucking personality and charisma of a piece of wheat toast. Like there's nothing to him. He's not an interesting actor as far as like how he portrays any character. Like I saw him in the Magical Negro Society film, and in that film he was just forgettable. In Detective Pikachu, he was forgettable. Like he just does not have a strong charismatic presence on screen. He just does not come off. It's not that he comes off bad, but he comes off as vapid. Like he makes you want to go to fucking sleep listening to him. I mean, he just doesn't have any dynamic, inflection in his voice. Nothing about him even remotely stands out. Not even like this stands out, but it's just remotely interesting. So I would hope that going forward they would get rid of Justin Smith, just simply because I just don't think him as a main character would really work. I think people would just be fucking checked out with him as a fucking physical and audible sleep aid. That's all he is to me. Whenever I see Justin Smith, I just want to go sleep because there's just nothing to him. And that's just nothing against the actor. Just how, and I'm sure he might have some other roles where he's been better or had different types of characters he's played, but the ones I've seen, he's been the same. It's almost like he's kind of like like a Ben Carson, if Ben Carson was like a young actor almost, because Ben Carson has that same type of personality where he just fucking makes you want to go to sleep. But yeah, so between that, like I don't think that the original film, like continuing from there, would have worked that well. But I do think if they took inspiration from the Mystery Dungeon games and like made it more about like the Pokemon, like, and I think that's the thing is like because it's cool. I thought it was cool how they did it, where they had like the integration of Pokemon and humans and a real world society, and it was cool how they did it. But I think it would be cooler. I think it'd be more interesting if they went just an entirely Pokemon route, like no humans, strictly a full Pokemon world, where it's like the Mystery Dungeon games, where it's all Pokemon and no humans at all. I think that'd be the route to go. And the thing about Pokemon is that you can do any type of genre. Like it's not limited. Like you can do more of a horror type movie. I doubt that they would ever do like not that Pokemon would ever get like a rated R type of film, but they could go a little bit darker. Like you could have like a more of a horror type story of like characters like Drowsy, Darkrai, Gengar. You could do something that's more in the horror paranormal aspect, or you could do something that was more in the sci-fi fantasy with like Deoxys and going into space and dealing with characters like that. Or you could even go digital with like Porygon and PolyZ. Or you could go like with a grand, fantasy, story with like Dialga and Palkia, like messing with time and space. And, the multiverse is a popular concept for franchises to mess with. You could do something with that with colliding multiverses. I hope to God not. I hope they fucking don't do that in Pokemon. But like, you get the point. Like, there's an endless list of possibilities of what they could do. Like, they could make any type of genre film. They could make any type of film. And that's the kind of cool thing about Pokemon is like you can make it anything. Like, you can make a sci-fi film, a fantasy film, a grounded slice of life film, a paranormal horror film, grand, bending time and space type of adventure. You can do like even like you can even do like a police movie, like with Officer Jenny, with like police rangers or police force, or you could do something with like regular civilians and their Pokemon on a day to day basis. Like there's so many possibilities, and that's kind of also why I think it's unfortunate that there hasn't been really the same level of interest in making more Pokemon movies and live action Pokemon projects like Sonic. Because like you look at the Sonic franchise, and they're already on their fourth film, and they've had a show. They probably will have another show, and you could do that with Pokemon. Like you could have several different types of spin-off shows for different characters. And I think if they went like the strictly Pokemon route, you could have like not that they should just go crazy with having 100 different TV shows, but they could have like a few like main spin-offs of main characters from the mainline movies that they focus on and can develop more that they don't like have that chance to in the actual movie. So I think that would be a really cool opportunity. But yeah, I don't know though. I don't know what the plans are for Pokemon as like a live action franchise, because it seems to be the franchise that's just like getting left behind more and more. Like the fact that there's more development on Mario 2, which came out years after the first Pokemon movie. It's already more like further into production than anything for Pokemon has for the last 5 to 6 years. And Sonic 4 is supposed to come out. I think it's 2027 is when we're supposed to get the next Sonic movie, and then I'm sure we're probably going to get another show at some point or some type of mini series, in between there. And then you got Detective Pikachu as the sole Pokemon live action project, and there's like nothing else. Like Justin Smith, they asked him a few years ago, like if what was the status of a Detective Pikachu 2 and like what was he kind of hoping for, and he pretty much said like, yeah, I've kind of given up hope on that. Like I hope it happens, but probably won't happen. So it seems like even the people involved with the first movie are kind of like, yeah, I don't know, this might happen, I hope it does, but it might not happen. And I mean, Ryan Reynolds, like, I don't know, he might come back for a second one. Like I said, I hope he doesn't. I hope he was more of a one and done. But I feel like Ryan Reynolds, he's doing so many other projects. I doubt he would even really be bothered to come back to do something like this. I think he's just preoccupied with doing every other possible project he has. And I think he has like a winery or something. He has like, I think, an alcohol company or something like that. He has an alcohol company. I think it's like whiskey or something. And he has like his cell phone company that he's with. So he has a lot of stuff that he's doing on his own. So he probably doesn't even care whether he comes back or not for a second one. And then Catherine Newton, she's talked about, wanting to come back, but like Justin Smith, she said like, yeah, she pretty much doesn't know when and if a second move is going to happen. So pretty much everyone involved with the first film are kind of just like, yeah, I don't know, doesn't look like it's going to happen. And the director for the film, I don't even think he's even being discussed for being like a candidate for a second movie. I don't even think he's even did an interview or even talked about the possibility of a second film. So it seems like as of right now, it's just more like a concept of a second film, and like, Nintendo and Warner Brothers, they're just kind of like having a placeholder of like, we're gonna make it at some point. We just don't know what it's gonna be. And I don't know. I feel like I hope that they start to make something soon. I don't want them to. Obviously, I don't want them to like rush to just make something. But like the longer it goes on, and like the more along that these other franchises like Mario and Sonic and then like Zelda, the more these other properties start to kind of be more like more expanded, more expanded out of all these different projects and TV shows, and Pokemon's just there. It's going to be kind of hard for Pokemon to really catch up to these other franchises like Mario and Sonic. I mean, not that it should be like a competition, but like you would think there would be like that, like the big three, like the trifecta of Pokemon, Mario, Sonic, and you would like want them to be kind of on like the same track of like having somewhat around the same ballpark of projects, the same like amount of movies and shows and side projects. But it seems like for whatever reason, there's just really no interest from Nintendo and like really wanting to make a second one. Because if they wanted to make a second film, it would have been made by now. Like if Nintendo really wanted for a second Pokemon movie to be made, it would have been made years ago. We would actually be on probably a damn near fifth Pokemon movie right now if they really wanted to happen. And it seems like they're just really not that they're not interested, but it just seems like they don't really have that same level of urgency and just hyper obsession with making the next one. And I think also it kind of comes down to, not that this is the only thing, but I think it also comes down to the reception of the film, because I mean the film wasn't a box office flop. Like it had a budget of $150 million and it made over $400 million. So it made a lot of money back. It didn't lose any money. But like it seems like the reception from the public was just kind of there. Like, I mean, I watched it because I'm a Pokemon fan. Like, and I've talked to other Pokemon fans who watched it, and they're just kind of like, yeah, it was cool, but that was it. Like, it didn't seem like even for fans of Pokemon, they were really into the movie, and it seemed like people who weren't Pokemon fans, they were just kind of like, well, that was okay or that was cool, but it's whatever. So it seems like the public reception was just kind of really lukewarm. Like even from diehard Pokemon fans, like it seemed like nobody really loved this film. Like you look at the Sonic movies, and people love Sonic 2 and they love Sonic 3. People loved the first Mario movie. Like people fell in love with that movie, and the reception was overwhelmingly positive. But you look at the reception for Detective Pikachu, and it was just kind of okay-ish at best, but like nowhere near the type of reaction that the Sonic movies have gotten or Mario's gotten. So, and I'm sure that probably played a part in it too. Is like it seemed like the reception from the audiences and even like the diehard Pokemon fans were just kind of like, it's whatever, it's cool, and that's about it. So I think that also kind of hurt the film. Was like it really just did not have that fan engagement that Mario and Sonic got the luxury of having. But other than that, like I feel like the story of the first one was just kind of it fit for what it was going for, but like the story for it wasn't a bad story, but it wasn't the best. I mean, for a Pokemon movie, like I was saying earlier, there's so much you can do. Like the possibilities are endless, and like what they went for was it was an okay plot, but wasn't the best story. And like I said, like I really feel like the best way going forward for Pokemon movies is like strictly Pokemon, like just a Pokemon world. Because I feel like trying to have a live action, like it seems good as a concept and on paper, and it even worked to a degree in the first movie. But like, I feel like it's kind of hard to like try to have, especially like if you try to implement like the games and the show and like try to adapt that into a live action setting. I don't think it works as well. Like I feel like that's why there wasn't that many Pokemon battles in the first film, is because like it's kind of weird and kind of awkwardly difficult to like adapt that like it is in the show and the games into like a live action setting. So like there aren't really a lot of fights as far as like Pokemon battles, like trainers battling. I don't think that there was even a single battle. Actually, I might be wrong about this, but I don't think there was a single like actual like between two trainers of Pokemon. Like I don't think there was a single battle. I think it was just like a few battles here and there, and even like the battles that were just between Pokemon, they were pretty limited. So like I think also like trying to like adapt a story and adapt like world building components from the game and the show is also something that like the first one kind of struggled with. And I hope going forward that they kind of just forget what they did in the first one. Not that the first one was bad, but considering people really weren't that into it, like the best people said about it was like it was okay, like it was all right. Like I don't think people would be that upset if like they just scrapped what they did for the first film and like did something completely different. And I mean, also it's Pokemon, so like it's not like there's a core group of characters that they're like expecting. Like I mean, obviously in the show, you got Ash, Brock, and Misty, but that's the show. Like for the live action movies, it's not like there's a core cast of characters that you have to have no matter what, or like it just won't work. Like you can do anything with Pokemon. Like that's one of the best parts about Pokemon. Like whether they're making games or shows or movies, is that you can have a blank canvas to do anything with. Like there have been plenty of animes and manga and comics and games where Ash and the main characters like Pikachu and Brock, they're nowhere to be. Like they don't even exist. Like Ash doesn't really exist in a lot of the games. Brock and Misty exist as trainers and a lot of the mainline, Pokemon games, but really outside of the anime, Ash, as even though he's like the poster child of the franchise besides Pikachu, like there's a lot of projects and a lot of stuff out there where he just is not there. He's not anywhere to be seen. It doesn't even exist in some projects. So like you can do anything you want with Pokemon. So like I think that they should just like completely scrap this, move past what they did from the first film and do something completely different. And I think also if they just had a blank slate and start from there and just made something completely new, I think it would probably have more engagement. Like I feel like now Detective Pikachu as a sequel would benefit a lot more than it would have before, just because I think it would have that kind of rubbed off side effect from Sonic and Mario, where like people are like, oh shit, now there's another Pokemon movie, and now we got the Sonic movies which people love and the Mario movies. Like I think because people like the Nintendo adaptations, I think that the sequel for a Pokemon movie might get that just like inherent kind of grace with the fans, where people just like automatically are kind of invested just because of that. So it actually might benefit now just because of how the other, Sega and Nintendo projects have, come out and been received since then. But yeah, I don't know though. It doesn't seem like there's really going to be a Pokemon movie for at least the near future. Like looking at it, like they don't seem to be really in a rush to be making anything, because the most recent, like as far as like information, was back in 2023, and then since then, like we're already in June of 2025, and there's been like no information, no like core like cast or producer or director. There's been nothing. So it's safe to say that we're probably not going to get another Pokemon project for a few more years. But I do hope when they do make another one that they just completely start from scratch, make something new. And I hope that they just take inspiration from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games and like really do, because those games you can do so much with that. Like especially just in all Pokemon world, there's so much you can do with that. And I think that if they go that route, that I think a sequel would be a whole lot better than what they did for the first one. Because I think the first one was just kind of, the story is okay, it's serviceable. Mewtwo was a surprise, but it wasn't like the most engaging story. And then, like, for Pokemon fans, it was just kind of, an okay story. Like, it wasn't like the first one had a story that, like, if you were a fan of Pokemon, like, you would really be more into it than, like, normal people. It had a story that, like, no matter whether you were a fan or not, people were just kind of like, I mean, that's cool, but yeah, that's about it. So I do hope that they go a completely different route with a second Pokemon movie. But with that said, I think I'm gonna end this here, and until then, I will see you guys next time.